last 17 days, the eyes and ears of this entire world was actually stuck on the small district of Uttarkashi, where the biggest and probably one of the toughest rescue operations started on the 12th of November, the very day the Diwali was. On the morning of 12th of November, at least 41 persons who were working inside an under construction tunnel got stuck as debris fell on them. Approximately 20 meters of debris initially fell on them. Post that, as this news came out, we out here at CNN News 18 decided to come here and cover this entire story through its length and breadth, through its ups and downs, and that is what we are going to tell you as to how was the last 17 days for the people of Uttarkashi, for the people of Silkyara where this incident happened, and for the people who were stuck inside this tunnel for 17 days. On the first day, as 20 meters of debris had fallen, the people thought, the administration at that point of time thought that it is an easy job for them to remove this entire debris with earth movers and bulldozers. And that is where the first mistake happened. As they started taking out the debris, more debris started to fall, which meant that the amount of debris increased from 20 to the 40-meter mark, and hence these operations became even more tough, and probably the toughest operation that this country has ever seen. Post that, experts were called in, rescuers were called in from all across the globe, and the first decision that they decided to take was to drill through an auger machine. An auger machine that was built in India, that was airlifted from the national capital and was brought here. And as soon as the machine started drilling through the debris, because that was the only solution that was being seen at that point in time to make sure that the people could be taken out at the earliest. And as soon as that small auger machine started to drill through the debris, the first blockade came, where due to the vibrations that were created by that auger machine, because it did not have that much power to drill through those debris, and hence more debris fell, which eventually meant that the entire length of debris now increased to somewhere around the 55 to 60 meter mark. And also that machine, that small auger machine, broke into pieces. 2 days after that, it was decided that a new American auger machine would be called in, and it took almost 2 days for that machine to actually be airlifted from Indore all the way to out here in Uttarkashi. And finally, when that machine was installed and it started drilling, that was the first ray of hope that each and every person got, that they thought that now within the next 24 to 48 hours, we might get the news of all these people coming out safely. But yet again, that is not something that what nature wanted. And the hopes of all the people, including us and the media that was covering it, the locals that were looking into it, all came crashing down as the American auger machine got tangled with debris that was inside, and in that debris there were heavy metal pieces, there were heavy girders that were present inside that, and hence it became impossible for that auger machine to actually go ahead and drill through that. Hence this technique was utilized, that the structuring inside the tunnel should be done, because no more debris should fall, which would eventually mean that this entire operation would take a longer time. Post that, box culverts were called in. The main job of this box culverts was to make a special escape route. If at all more debris fell on the rescue workers, then they could actually use these box culverts to be safe and get outside the tunnel. And now this became the first line of safety for the rescuers. The only good thing that was in the side of the rescuers was that the people who were stuck inside, they had a 2.2 kilometer length to actually walk both ways, and hence they were not stuck inside a very compressed, a very narrow passage, and that is where all the hope lied. Initially, for the first 9 days, these people had absolutely no access whatsoever to any sort of solid food. All they were being given were dry fruits and other light food that could actually be blown through the air pipe. Post that, the real issues came up. Once the auger machine stopped working at the 22-meter mark, that entire machine had to be taken out. A person had to go inside with gas cutters and start cutting the debris with their hands. This was the first big disappointment, and I remember at that point in time, while we were at the Silkyara tunnel site, there was a lot of disappointment that came up. The rescuers, their shoulders were down. They were very disappointed that this operation is not getting successful and is not going at the pace at which they wanted to. And at that point, the lifeline pipe was also not inserted. So you can imagine the kind of tension that the rescuers might have had at that point, because these people had no access to solid food. And for how long can a person survive without any access to any sort of solid food or nutrients that might be needed for them to survive? and this became a really very big cause of concern. Post that, I remember it correctly, on the 5th or the 6th day, the Prime Minister office intervened and officials from the PMO actually came here and settled on the ground. They made their base out here in Uttarkashi, and then there was a much better coordination that was seen amongst all the people who were working around the clock to make sure that these people are taken out safely. More than 15 organizations and 1,000 workers were working around the clock just to make sure that there is no harm absolutely that can be given to all these people. Post that, once that American auger machine stopped working at the 22-meter mark, the decision was taken to structure the entire tunnel from inside so that more debris does not fall, and the workers who are working day and night to make sure that the people who are stuck inside the tunnel, they are pulled out, they do not get injured. It took the next 36 to 40 hours for the rescuers to actually complete that entire task, and then yet again the drilling process started from the American auger machine, this time a new one that has been called in by the Indian Air Force itself. This time the Hercules actually came and to the rescue of the rescuers and finally helped them to actually install that machine, and then the drilling process started. Then over the next 24 to 36 hours, the American auger machine was able to breach the 45-meter mark, and then yet again there were heavy girders and metal pieces that were found, and yet again the auger machine failed. Now it took at least 4 hours for them to actually pull out the driller of that machine, deassemble it, for a person to go inside, another 3 to 4 hours for that person to get through those metal pipes, those heavy girders that were found over there, and then yet again another 4 hours for the machine to be reinstalled, and then the entire process of drilling started yet again. What happened next was probably the biggest goof up of this entire operation. Since we were reporting from day one from this spot, the emotions of people yet again rose, because the rescuers each and every time came on record and they actually gave a timeline as to when will they be able to take out these people, and that actually raised the hopes of not only us who were wishing with folded hands that these people are taken out with safety, because this could have massive repercussions. Not only us, but also the entire strength of locals who were present on this spot. They also got very excited and elated when they came to know that a new timeline has been given in which these people could be taken out at a very, very close juncture. But yet again, another obstruction came, which meant that the hopes came crashing down again, and more disappointment spread across the entire environment of Uttarkashi. People were really sad, disheartened, and almost hopeless when this entire 45-meter mark was not being able to breach for at least 2 days. Now, for the next 2 days, the cutting actually happened, and then the state-of-the-art ground-penetrating radars were used. The main focus of this radar was to make sure that they actually predict the terrain of the debris, and that report actually said that there are no continuous metal pieces for the next 5.4 meters in this entire debris, which yet again meant that the rescuers had more confidence that yes, they can put more pressure on that American auger machine and make sure that it is pushed through that debris. So more pressure was built, but that report, the analysis was so wrong that in the next 2.2 meters yet again, the obstructions were found, the girders were found, and the auger machine stuck in such a bad manner that it took the next 72 hours for them to actually take out the debris from that auger machine. And that is when the decision was taken to go ahead and make sure that no more pipes are inserted inside it, no more machines are used, and the rat hole mining technique, the old school technique should come to play. And that is when the heroes of the day, the rat hole miners, were called in, and they started digging, and for the next 10 meters they were successfully able to dig through in the next 26 hours, and after that what they say is the rest is history. So all this was happening while we were covering it from outside. There were many ups and downs, there were many difficulties that came in, that came out, there were problems that came up, solutions were found. Initially, the rescuers also had no idea how to tackle such a disaster, and hence each and every time they made some headway, they would come out and give a timeline to the people that the mission is about to get successful, the mission is about to end, the people are about to be taken out, which eventually meant that the hopes of people rose, and eventually when that did not happen, the hopes came crashing down, which meant that the entire scene was of disappointment and disheartenment. On the other hand, the rescuers were not comfortable with just one position through which they could take out the people, and hence they pointed out at least 4 more locations through which the drilling could happen and these people could be taken out. The nearest one in that was the vertical drilling. 88 meter of mountain needed to be dug for them to reach at the location where these people were stuck. But yet again, for 45 meters, this operation went on, but even before this operation could come to an end, the people came out safely. Not only this, but there is a local legend that also goes out here, and on the first day I arrived over here, I was told about that legend. That legend was regarding God Baba Boknar. The locals believed that since the temple of the god Baba Boknak was on the top of the tunnel, and hence if this tunnel was made, then no one would go and worship that god, and hence the god has gotten angry and will not allow this tunnel to work anymore. And the locals also believe that nothing is going to happen before the 26th of November, because that was the day that their festivities would come to an end. And according to the local legends, the stories, the doli that was supposed to be taken back to Baba Bokna, that would reach over there, and then yet again pujas would happen, worship would happen, and then the god would get happy, and then these people would be allowed to come outside. But what happened on the 26th and the 27th of November, that was absolutely shocking, and incidentally, it all fell according to the plan of the locals, and who were saying that nothing is going to happen. You bring any big machines, you bring any big boulders, but no success is going to be found out until and unless the rescuers actually worship the deity, and post that if the god is happy, then they will allow the mountains to come out, the people to come out from the mountains, from the tunnel that was dug in. And incidentally, all of that fell in place. So yes, a lot of superstition, a lot of science, a lot of effort, a lot of pain, a lot of happiness, and a lot of disappointments that we have seen happen over the last 17 days in front of our eyes. Every day we used to go inside at the rescue spot with a hope that today is probably going to be the last day. But yes, every time some or the other obstructions came in, we came back with disappointment, waited for another 2 days for that hope to rise again, and then yet again new disappointments. Now finally, the most satisfactory thing that happened over the last 17 days was that visual of the first person coming out from those pipes. Initially, the breakthrough that we reported happened around 1:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. That information, when that came in, that actually rushed a new breath of life amongst all of us, especially the family of the people who were waiting for their loved ones to come out. And once that happened, there was a lot of energy in the entire crowd. It felt like that India has won the World Cup, although we lost it. But yes, this time around the feeling was actually the same. At approximately 7:50 to 8 p.m. was the time when the first person came out, and when the first motorcade of ambulances started coming out, the visuals that we were seeing actually brought us a lot of emotions, and that is what we were waiting to report to our viewers for the last 17 days. And finally, when that happened, words were not enough to express those happinesses. Visuals spoke for itself. The locals were celebrating, because remember, this incident happened on Diwali, and on that day of Diwali, the locals decided not to celebrate that because the lives of 41 people were at risk. And finally, when these people were taken out, it was like Diwali out here in Silkyara. And finally, when these people were taken out, they were taken to the hospital. By the grace of God, all of them were safe, all of them were fine, and hence this entire operation, the most challenging operation that the country has ever seen, came to an end, a positive end, an end that we expect that will be learned. A lot of lessons would be learned from it in the near future as well. With video journalist Vikas Rawat, this is Anshul Singh for CNN News 18.